My sister posted on TikTok, ruining my brother's wedding for a viral trend. The day before my wedding, I said nothing. Just had security ban her from the venue. I never thought my sister would be that person. You know, the type who'll turn someone's real life into content. I've seen the videos, the prank weddings, the ruining my best friend's big day for the memes crap. I used to scroll past them with that familiar mix of cringe and disbelief. I didn't think one of those stories would ever involve me. But here we are. I'm 33. My sister, Kayla, is 26. She's been chasing the influencer life for about 3 years now. It started harmlessly enough. Makeup tutorials, dance trends, little day in my life videos. She's pretty, energetic, charming in short bursts. She hit 10K followers fast. Then she tasted virality once. A clip of her crying over her toxic ex got 500,000 views. Since then, everything's been a performance. Every family dinner, every gathering, every argument. Her phone was somewhere. Recording. She'd say things like, "You never know what might blow up." It stopped being funny a long time ago. When I proposed to my fiancée, Emily, I knew Kayla would want to help. She offered to vlog the engagement. Emily said no. She wanted it private. Kayla acted offended, like we were excluding her. Then the wedding planning started, and Kayla's tone changed. "You guys are doing this so traditionally. I could make it go viral, you know. We could get sponsors, maybe comp the catering if I tag them." I told her, as gently as I could, that the wedding wasn't a brand deal. It was ours. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're being dramatic. Everyone documents their lives now." Emily didn't want her anywhere near the planning after that. I agreed. Kayla sulked for a few weeks, then pretended to move on. The real trouble started the week of the wedding. Kayla posted a TikTok, a get ready for my brother's wedding type of video. Nothing crazy. A few clips of her dress, makeup, her saying, "I can't wait to see him get married." Cute. Normal. Fine. Then, the next day, I get a DM from one of her mutuals. A screen recording. It's Kayla's new TikTok, posted at 10 p.m. Ruining my brother's wedding for a viral trend. Watch this. There's a montage. Her laughing, showing a white sequin dress, too close to the bride's color. Oops. A fake crying bit saying, "It's what he deserves for never supporting me." And a clip of her typing, "Part 2 coming tomorrow, eyes bride with veil female sign collision." The comments were insane. People were hyping her up, saying, "Yes, girl, make it messy," and "We need drama at weddings." My stomach just dropped. I called her that night. No answer. Texted her, "Kayla, tell me this is a joke." She replied 2 hours later, "Don't be such a control freak. It's just content. Relax. You'll laugh when it blows up." Emily saw it and broke down crying. She'd worked for months planning this wedding down to the smallest detail. The seating chart, the playlist, the quiet moment before the ceremony she wanted with her dad. And now her future sister-in-law was turning it into a damn TikTok stunt. That was the first time I felt real anger toward Kayla. Not irritation, not disappointment, just cold, focused anger. The next morning, I called the venue. Spoke with their head of security, a guy named Victor, ex-military, calm and professional. I explained the situation, showed him the TikTok. He didn't even blink. "We've dealt with exes and drunk uncles. We can handle a YouTuber." I gave him her photo, the dress she planned to wear, even her social handles in case she tried to lie her way in. Victor promised to station 2 guards near the entrance with her name on the banned list. Then I texted Kayla again. "You're not coming tomorrow. Security will escort you off if you try." She replied, "Wow, you're actually insane. I'm your sister." I didn't answer. The morning of the wedding, I muted all social apps. I didn't want to see if she'd posted part 2. I just wanted to marry Emily. We were mid-prep at the venue when Victor radioed in. He said, "She's here." Apparently, Kayla arrived in full makeup, wearing a long white gown with a tiara, holding her phone live streaming to 50,000 followers. The guard stopped her at the gate. She tried to laugh it off, said, "It's just a joke. I'm his sister." Then she realized they weren't joking. They escorted her out while she was still live. You can actually hear her on the clip shouting, "My brother's lost his mind. He's obsessed with control. This is what happens when you don't support your family." And then the feed cuts off when they remove her phone. She left the venue screaming about betrayal and cancel culture. I didn't say a word about it that day. Not to Emily, not to my parents, not to anyone. We had our wedding. It was calm, beautiful, quiet, but that silence felt heavier than I expected. Because I knew, deep down, this wasn't over. For 2 days after the wedding, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Emily and I checked out of the hotel, started our short mini-moon. We didn't even post photos. We both agreed. No online noise. Just peace. But on the third morning, I opened my phone and saw my face on TikTok. Kayla had posted her version of what happened. My brother banned me from his wedding for a harmless prank, loudly crying face. I tried to support him and his new wife, but apparently I'm too embarrassing for their perfect little world. She added shaky, cut-up footage, her crying in the car, a clip of her being escorted out, a screenshot of my text, "You're not coming tomorrow." And she framed it like I was emotionally abusive, like I'd always tried to control her, that I never supported her dreams. The comments were brutal. Tens of thousands of strangers calling me a narcissist, a controlling groom, a jealous brother afraid of his sister's success. Hashtags like hashtag let Kella in and hashtag toxic family started trending under her videos. My stomach turned. I didn't want to respond publicly. I still don't. But then, her next post crossed a line. It was titled "Proof My Brother's Lying About What Happened." She'd edited together voice messages I'd sent her weeks earlier, completely out of context. I'd said, "You're not part of the wedding planning anymore." And she spliced it next to clips of her crying. Then she added captions like, "This is what emotional abuse sounds like." That video hit 1.4 million views in less than a day. Sponsors reached out to her. She did a live stream, crying about how her family abandoned her for fame. Her followers flooded my work email, my LinkedIn, even Emily's business account. It wasn't just embarrassing, it was defamation. I work in IT for a mid-sized company. I handle data security for clients. Trust and reputation matter. And here was a viral TikTok painting me as some kind of manipulative sociopath. Our HR department got an anonymous email accusing me of harassing women in the workplace. It was word for word from one of Kayla's comment sections. That was the moment I stopped hoping she'd calm down and started collecting evidence. I backed up every video, every comment, every message she'd posted. Screen recorded them with timestamps. Saved her live streams before she could delete them. Even used a site archiver to preserve the metadata in case this went legal. Then I reached out to a lawyer, not for revenge, but for protection. He advised me to draft a cease and desist for defamation and harassment. Not to send it yet, just to have it ready. He said something that stuck with me. You don't have to win online. You just have to win where it matters, on paper. So I stayed silent. A week later, Kayla posted another video, claiming I'd cut her off financially. For the record, I'd never given her a dime. But now she told her followers she was homeless, that I froze her out of the family. People sent her money. Literal strangers were Venmoing her hundreds. And then came the text from my mom. "Why are you doing this to your sister? She says you had her dragged out like a criminal." That one hurt more than anything else. Because I realized she'd turned them too. My mom, dad, even my aunt. They'd seen only her version. Not the full context. Not the clips of her laughing about ruining my wedding for content. So I sent them everything. The screenshots. The videos. The timeline. It took my mom 2 hours to call back. She was crying. I don't even know who she is anymore. A few days later, Kayla's tone changed online. She posted a long apology video. Except it wasn't really an apology. It was one of those influencer half-truths. I didn't mean to hurt my brother, but he's always been really cold to me, so I acted out. She admitted to exaggerating, but said the pain was real. And somehow, people still sided with her. Because that's how it works online. The first version of the story always wins. The truth comes second, buried under hashtags and sympathy filters. At that point, I decided to send the letter. Through my lawyer, formally. The cease and desist demanded immediate removal of all defamatory content and an acknowledgement that her statements were false. It also warned that if she didn't comply, we'd move forward with legal action. She didn't respond to me, but within 48 hours, most of her videos disappeared. No apology, no explanation. Just gone. Her followers turned on her fast. Comments shifted from "we support you" to "you lied for clout," and "we should have known." She went private within a week. Emily and I thought it was over. For a while it was. Then one night, 2 months later, I got an email, no subject line, just a link to a private Google Drive folder. Inside, screenshots, drafts, deleted posts. All of it from someone claiming to be one of Kayla's old moderators. They wrote, she planned the whole wedding prank months in advance. Said she'd blow up if she got kicked out. Even rehearsed crying on stream. I didn't know whether to feel angry or just sad. Because in that moment, I realized there was no prank. It was all strategy. I didn't forward it to my lawyer. I didn't post it. I just archived it and moved on. There's no satisfaction in proving someone wrong who's already destroyed themselves. The last I heard, Kayla moved to LA, still chasing content. Her follower count dropped to a fraction, but she's still posting. Smaller audience, same chaos. I don't check her page anymore. Sometimes, people send me her videos, but I delete them without opening. I wish this ended with some neat moral, something about forgiveness or family. But honestly, it just left a hole. We used to be close. Now, she's like a stranger I once shared a childhood with. I don't hate her. I just don't recognize her anymore. Update 1. It's strange how silence can feel heavier than noise. 6 months later, the dust has mostly settled, but the echo of that whole thing hasn't really left my life. The internet moved on, of course. It always does. There's always a new scandal, a new main character every week. But people don't see what's left behind when the algorithm forgets you. Emily and I bought a small house outside the city. We both needed distance, not just from Kayla, but from the noise that followed. For weeks after her apology, I'd get random DMs from people trying to fact-check me, asking, "Did you really ban your sister?" Or, "Can you confirm if she was drunk?" Some even tried to bait me into interviews. I ignored every single one. The lawyer said that staying quiet was the best decision I ever made. If I'd responded publicly, if I'd let emotion leak into the story, it would have only fed her narrative. Instead, I documented, timestamped, filed, and waited. Kayla didn't respond to the cease and desist formally, but the takedowns she did were enough to satisfy legal requirements. My lawyer said, she won't risk a lawsuit she can't afford. Still, the damage was done. Our parents barely spoke to either of us for months. They couldn't handle the tension. They kept trying to mediate, as if there was something left to negotiate. Mom said, "She's still your sister. Blood is blood." And all I could say was, then she should have remembered that before turning me into a villain for her followers. We stopped talking after that. The hardest part wasn't losing Kayla. It was losing the version of family I thought I had. Because for months, I kept replaying everything in my head. Birthdays, holidays, little moments where she'd been normal. Kind. Was it always an act? Was she always seeing life through a camera lens, even back then? Sometimes I think about the day she got her first phone. She'd film everything. The dog, her coffee, me playing guitar in my room. I'd joke, "You should enjoy stuff instead of filming it." She'd laugh and say, "I'm preserving memories." Funny how the same instinct that started as innocence turned into weaponized attention. A month ago, Mom called again. She said Kayla was back in town, staying with her for a few weeks. Apparently, things in LA didn't work out. No management deal, some debt, a few sponsorships that pulled out. Mom wanted me to have dinner together, clear the air. I said no, not out of spite, just self-preservation. Because I've learned something important. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. You can forgive someone and still never let them near your peace again. A few nights later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's me. Just wanted to say I didn't mean for it to go that far." No apology, no acknowledgement of what she did, just that. I didn't respond. The next morning, she posted another video. Nothing about me this time, thankfully. Just a day in the life vlog. Same forced energy. Same empty smile. Like nothing ever happened. And that's when it hit me. She doesn't think in terms of real life anymore. For her, there's only content, and then not content. If it's not recorded, it doesn't exist. And I refuse to exist in her world anymore. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't stayed calm that day. If I'd yelled, made a scene, pushed back online. Maybe she'd have gotten her viral part 2. But she didn't, because I gave her nothing. Just silence. And for someone addicted to attention, silence is the one thing they can't handle. Emily and I still get the occasional message from people who remember the whole situation. One woman DM'd me last week saying, "Thank you for how you handled it. My sister tried to do something similar at my wedding. It's surreal that something so personal, so painful, somehow became a lesson for strangers." I don't know if that's comforting or depressing. Maybe both. These days, I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb most evenings. We've started gardening. Emily paints. Our life's quiet. And I mean that in the best way possible. I used to think winning meant clearing my name or seeing Kayla apologize publicly. Now I know better. Winning is peace. Winning is walking away from the explosion while everyone else still plays in the ashes. Final update: a year has passed since the wedding. Some days it feels like it happened yesterday. Other days it feels like it happened to someone else entirely. Life has leveled out into something calm, measured, and quiet. I've learned that peace doesn't look like joy. It looks like the absence of chaos. But last month, I saw Kayla again. And for the first time, I realized that closure isn't about forgiveness or justice. It's about finally accepting that some people never come back the same. It was at our aunt's funeral. Cancer. Quick and cruel. We weren't particularly close, but she was one of those people who held the family together. The one who called everyone on birthdays, who remembered anniversaries, who insisted on family dinners even when no one wanted to go. Kayla showed up late, wearing sunglasses, holding her phone like always. But for once, she wasn't recording. That somehow made it worse. Her face looked thinner, older. Not physically, but in a tired way, like someone who's been pretending to be other people for too long. When our eyes met, she hesitated, like she was calculating whether to smile or not. She finally said quietly, "Hey." I nodded. That was it. We stood near each other during the service. She didn't make a scene, didn't cry for the camera, just kept her head down. For a brief second, I saw the sister I grew up with. Not the influencer, not the chaos. Just Kayla. And then it was gone. After the burial, Mom asked if I'd talk to her. I agreed, partly for Mom, partly because I needed to see if there was anything left to salvage. We sat on a stone bench behind the church. She looked defeated. Her voice was smaller than I remembered. "I didn't mean to ruin your wedding," she said. "I thought it would be funny. I didn't think it'd go that far." I didn't interrupt. She went on about how things spiraled, how she got caught up in the algorithm, how the followers pushed her to keep feeding the story. She said she lost brand deals, that her reputation tanked, that she tried to rebrand as an advocate for mental health, but people kept calling her fake. There was a moment, a real one, where she started crying quietly. No phone, no audience, just a human moment. I said, "Do you realize you didn't just ruin a wedding? You weaponized the people who trusted you. Me, Mom, everyone, for views." She nodded, not looking up. "I know. I don't even know why I do it anymore. It's like I can't stop. Like if I'm not seen, I don't exist." That sentence stuck with me. Because it wasn't an excuse, it was a confession. We talked for about 20 minutes. Nothing resolved. No big reconciliation. I didn't forgive her, but I didn't hate her either. When we stood to leave, she asked, "Do you think we'll ever be okay again?" I said, "Maybe, but not the same way." She nodded, didn't argue. Then she walked away. That night, I rewatched the wedding video, the one our photographer made. There's a shot near the end, panning across all the guests, everyone laughing, glasses raised. For a split second, there's an empty chair where she should have been sitting. And for the first time, instead of anger, I felt something closer to grief. Not for what she did, but for who she used to be. People online love stories with clean endings. He got justice, or she learned her lesson. But real life doesn't work that way. The truth isn't cinematic. It's heavy, quiet, and lonely. Kayla still posts occasionally. Mostly small, simple stuff now. Cooking, thrift hauls, a cat she adopted. She has a few thousand followers left. No sponsors, no viral hits. Just muted noise. And maybe that's for the best. Mom asked if I'd ever let her come to visit us. I said maybe someday, but it'll be on my terms this time. No cameras, no content, just people. Until then, I keep my boundaries. Not out of anger, but because peace is something you have to defend. And sometimes, the only way to love someone broken is from a distance. A few weeks ago, Emily and I sat in the garden, watching the sunset. She said, "You're quieter lately." Not in a bad way, just steadier. I told her I finally stopped replaying that day in my head. Because I realized something simple, maybe even obvious. You can't control how someone chooses to remember you. You can only control how you remember yourself. And I remember myself as the man who stayed calm, who didn't feed the chaos, who refused to perform pain for strangers. That's enough. If anyone ever reads this, Maybe because you've been in a similar situation or someone close to you is drowning in that same digital sickness. Here's what I've learned. Silence isn't weakness. Boundaries aren't cruelty. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply not being part of the story anymore.